I looked up to. Always, I always want to be a good director. You guys inspire me, so that's wonderful. Let's give a round of applause to these fantastic directors. So we are 10 directors from different parts of the world, actually. So many of you watched me yesterday, so I will try to get other questions today, so we share. How do you, let me ask you this. How do you work with a writer when you get first idea of the script? How's that collaboration? Is there any kind of collaboration that you guys do there? Because for me, sometimes it's difficult to work with writers.
On my movie, the writer was the director at first, but he got sick and I took over as the director. So, and it was originally an off-Broadway show, which was great, a big success, but it had a lot of clunky moments in the script. So I thought, oh great, it's my opportunity, now I'm in charge to, iron it out and make some of it flow a little better. Well, it was impossible. I had a contract with him that said I could do anything I wanted artistically with the movie, with his permission. He just wouldn't give his permission for anything that I tried to do. So it can be an absolute nightmare to work with a writer. So that's it.
Tell me, Rafiq, where about you?
Well, hi everyone.
He and I are big bonding. He's becoming me. So, yes, hello, Tamia Dow, Las Vegas, Nevada, USA. I actually am the writer. So, yes, producer, director, writer, yeah, so I don't have like split personality fighting with myself, that kind of thing. I get it though. I get the frustration you could have with the writer. Because for me, as a writer, if I were to hand my script to someone else to make, I'd probably be bashing heads with it. You know what I'm saying? Because as a writer, when you're the writer and the director, you know the vision. You know where you want it to go. You know what your words are supposed to look like and sound like. So it's a really unique when you write your own projects and direct your own projects. And yeah, it can be hard when you're doing somebody else's work.
So what do you think, Ella?
Well, similarly, I'm also the writer. I tend to write, direct, produce, and edit the films I make. So yeah, I've never argued with myself. I mean, I do occasionally, but majority of the time I don't. I think when I have had experience collaborating on other things with directors and writers, sometimes the writers can be a bit overly proud of their work, like they're not even open to any sort of constructive criticism or any sort of improvements, whether they take them or not. But I think in general, my experience of working with other writers has been quite positive. They tend to be quite responsive, which I think is just what you tend to want. But yeah, in regards to my own films, I tend to also be the writer, so that makes things a lot easier.
So we continue, but we're going to introduce with the name and the project you have in the festival. Okay, so let's start with Jay. Go ahead.
I have two short experimental films in the festival, which have no words, so there was no writer. I conceptualized them. However, I did for about 20 years, I did industrial corporate media, and I'd say working with a writer, I had the same writer for almost 20 years, and I was always looking for somebody I thought knew more than I did, and I really trusted and got along with. So it becomes a friendship with a writer, in my experience. So I think find somebody you like, find somebody you trust, and form a long relationship with them.
How about you, Bilal?
Thank you, Dominic. I'm from Denmark, writer, director, and producer. Well, I have written all my films myself for 11 years, but 8 films. That's like crazy. That's like one film after the other. I haven't had the experience with another writer, but hearing from you guys, I think I'll stick to my own writing at the moment. And I'm also trying to write my first feature film. Today at the writers panel, I got a really good insight about how to make from first, second, and third act. So that has been very helpful. And thank you to Darwin and the festival for, bringing my films here with the audience and guys here. You guys are wonderful, and Darwin is the boss.
He is the real boss. So we got 3 more directors that we have to try to squeeze them. So we probably it's gonna be a long panel. But for me, everybody's very important to be part of this panel. Thank you, Miguel. This is the biggest panel ever. Beautiful. So guys, I was asking, for those who join us now, is that how you guys work with a writer as a directors, okay? Sometimes, writers, they want to be overprotective. It's a little bit difficult to work with them. So that was the question. So everybody's going to introduce, tell their film, represented here in the festival, and answer the question. Okay, so we continue with, Wayne.
Hey, I'm Wayne. The film in this that I have in this festival is called The Dental Plan. So it's about 2 people trapped in a dental office with a maniac. And in this film, I was both the writer and the director. And I think for this one, there wasn't much of a choice. I had to write it because I knew exactly the layout of the dental office. And it's not a very large office, so basically I had to write the script in order to get everything to fit exactly the way it could fit without having to mess around with the layout of the office.
Nice. How about you, Rafiq? Introduce yourself, please.
Hi everyone, my name is Rafiq. I have a short documentary, actually it's called Ivan, a story of a survivor. My documentaries actually mainly are based on personal story, and to be honest, I didn't work with a writer. I'm a documentary filmmaker, and it was mainly based on my personal story and experience.
Nice. How about you, Keon?
My film's Karma Bones. I haven't actually worked with another writer yet. As an actor I have, but I found for it to be really complete and almost like for it to be a religious experience, doing it all is part of it, at least for me. But I would love to work with some writers. It would make my job a lot easier, that's for sure.
I'm Jean-Luc Servino, I'm from Italy. I'm here with a letter from Professor B, a short movie, and fiction, LGBT, comedy, everything. This is about 3 people, a professor, the Professor B, and it's about love. The main topic is that the love has not age. Love has not age, has not gender, has nothing. And I talk about various poetry like Mayakovsky, Sergei Yesenin. So in modern key to talk about this and about the connection between writers and directors. I'm a screenwriter too, but when I direct something of someone else, I think that you don't need to write the text, but you need to write in his mind, in the mind of the screenwriter. This is the challenge, to do something of good. And this is all.
What do you think?
My name is Yorick, and I'm the writer and director of the World Cruiser. And this is a kind of futuristic, philosophical, experimental feature film about being human. And I didn't wanted to be the director, but I was writer, and we were looking for a director, but we couldn't find anyone, no matter how much money we offered. So it came back to us because, and then I tried to be the director of the film, and I found out that I had some issues with the writer. So, but I couldn't complain. So.
Shamila, Lengsfeld. Thank you for being here. I'm from Germany, and my movie is Machalata la Sonante, and it's about terror and war and circle of violence. And I'm usually also a writer, but I have one rule: I try to always work with people who are more talented and better than me to involve and get surprised. So also in this movie, I had an amazing screenwriter with me, Alina Sarakat, which was inspiring, and she was doing everything totally completely different than me, and this inspired me a lot. It was a huge challenge, but at the end, I think it came out great. So, yeah.
Hello, my name is Alisa. I'm originally from Belarus, but I'm living in Spain, in Mallorca, 2 years. And I'm here with the film The Lesson. It was shown the first day and nominated for the best Spanish film because it's in Spanish. And it was shot, some shots were done in Belarus and some in Spain. About your question, I do work with writers. Normally, I have some ideas of what comes to my mind, like some fantasies, what I would like to explain in the screen, and then I give them like small resume of what I would like to talk about, and then they develop the story. So I'm talking about that if we're creating together like a story with my guidance, or sometimes if the writer gives a bit too big the picture, like it's for budget reason or practical reason, it will be difficult to make, and then can we switch it for the maybe not the night scene for the day scene, or we make it at less locations and stuff. So I'm trying to massage it a bit so it will be easier to make in the end, because very often they go a bit too big and then you cannot find money to make it. But I do like to work with writers because I think they have a very good language to talk, and I think they help me a lot with my projects. But the lesson I wrote myself with my composer. But the next ones I did already with the writers. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Paul from Belgium, and this is
Louise from Belgium.
And we're here with a documentary film called Complete Surrender. So I guess that the writing question is maybe less relevant for us because the writing in the documentary is a bit different, I guess. We did it ourselves, of course, but you want to talk about it?
But we did have to, we had lots of ideas about how we were going to plan it out, and when you were applying for the cameras, you were like kind of blocking it, but once the artist started talking, a whole different story emerged, so it kind of wrote itself as it emerged, I think. But yeah, it would be interesting to work with a writer maybe to see what they would bring to it.
Kris.
How's it going, guys? I'm Kris Krainock. I made a movie called Bizarro e Fantastico. It's an Italian movie. It's about life and death and purpose and meaning and gastrointestinal health. And I usually write my own material, but I also work with writers on occasion. And so there's two kind of forms of it. So when I write for myself, I'm a believer that really fine writing, not that I've ever accomplished that, but I believe that really fine writing does most of the directing. An actor is a professional that should bring something to the movie. And so I want to give them the best roadmap that I can possibly give them in the text. And that gives them direction, but then the freedom to invent a performance and be a part of the artistic experience. So that's kind of the standard I hold for myself as a writer-director. And when I write with other writers, or I work with other writers, it's, kind of Darwin said, they get precious about their ideas, as they should. But it's, it's a blueprint. This isn't Ulysses. This is a script that needs to be transformed into a finished product. And so this is still underbaked cookie dough. So it's a best idea wins process. And it's collaborative. And how do we make this into something visual? How do we transform this into the finished movie? So it's still evolving and still growing. So if I work with a writer who's too precious about their ideas, it's not a good fit because they're going to have to be adapted for the proper medium. You know, films aren't written to exist on paper. So yeah, it's just try to be not competitive but collaborative, and it's best idea wins. And that energy, I think, connects with people in a good environment, and people get excited. And when the right idea kind of bubbles to the surface, you feel it. And that's kind of how I work with every part of my crew.
I just want to add something that Tamia also said. If you're having another writer, then the writer doesn't know your vision because you are the one who's coming with the vision, and it can be hard to write. Like my film, The Beach and the Trap, just an example. I wrote it myself. I could have told another person to write it for me, but he or she wouldn't know the message. So I also agree that Tamia and everyone else that it is very hard to have another person write for you. But all that said, it's not like no. But in the future, I might have someone write something for me if I tell them.
Hi, my name is Christopher Allport. I'm from Hollywood, California, and I'm very honored to be here. Thank you for the invitation in Barcelona. I wrote and directed a romantic comedy, and it's based in old Hollywood. It's kind of like a love letter to old Hollywood, and you find these old characters like Charlie Chaplin and Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks and D.W. Griffith, who were the founders of United Artists, come back as older people in the film, and they are like muses that guide the pair of romantic young lovers in the film. And Douglas Fairbanks, his ghost is sort of an antagonist, and Mary Pickford, she is more of a muse to help the characters come together. In terms of writing it, it was very interesting because I, about 10 years ago, had started with the Mary Pickford Foundation in Hollywood, restoring old silent Mary Pickford films. And what I saw was the birth of modern cinema acting in 1919 with the Mary Pickford film, Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farms, that my collaborator Marian Newman wrote a brand new score for to be played live with picture. And in all of the silent films prior to that, you saw this still very broad vaudevillian acting that was very dramatic. But with Mary Pickford, there was one moment in the 1919 Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farms film where you see the acting become small and in the eyes for the cinema. And it was this big instead of being so dramatic. And that moment stuck out to me for many, many years in my imagination, and I figured I needed to do something with Mary Pickford, but I didn't want to redo the tale of her coming from Toronto to New York when she was 14 years old. I wanted her to come back as an older lady, because her ending was rather sad, but I wanted her to have a better ending in this film. So she becomes the muse to put the young lovers together, and it was a collaborative writing process for me, as you Kris mentioned, the collaboration. Ultimately, I was the lead screenwriter and the director, so I had a great deal of influence, but I listened to what my lead actress needed, to what she wanted, and she got most of it in her character, Emily Arthur, which is in the title Emily or Oscar. So the film is really about, it's the choice between the girl or the gold. As a creator, sometimes you're so locked into your driven passion to win that you forget about love. And so that's the crux of the question of Emily or Oscar. Is Sam Feldman, the protagonist, is he able to find both love and ambition, or is it one or the other? And so the devil of Douglas Fairbanks comes in and he says, no, you must choose only your ambition to win the Oscar. So, but I listened to my crew and my team of writers to synthesize ideas, but ultimately I went back into the writing room on my own and I took the ideas that had been handed down and I synthesized them into what was shootable. Because a lot of times you run into these situations where you have writers that create things on paper that are just not really shootable. So